not in such concrete terms as meaning just the computer, but disconnecting from all the millions of Zoom conferences and maybe sitting and reading a book or sitting and having a one-to-one conversation with a friend as opposed to a whole group, and focusing on something and sort of getting rid of, which it's easier said than done, but moving away from all the things that are on our minds. Another thing in terms of finding balance is to kind of trim everything that we're doing, maybe prioritize what is important. Again, I think there's this overwhelmedness, I don't even know if that's a word, but this overwhelmedness that is, I think, common right now as we're exploring new things to do and new ways to be. So we need to think about what is really important to us. And that goes along with having some downtime and having time to just focus on one or two things. Another huge issue is paying attention to our health. As we talk about, and I'm very aware that when I talk about all this, I'm talking in a way that is somewhat optimistic, like here we are, and we're all in like quarantine and self-isolation, but at the same time, I've been focusing on, look at all these things we can do. There's so much we can do, and we're just overwhelmed by all these great things. But we do have to pay attention to the fact that there is this scary virus going on, and we still don't even know everything about it. We're still learning about it. And as we see in the news, there's so much disruption and conflict about, should we open up or should we not? And whatever open up means, I don't think, as everyone says, we're not going to just turn on a light switch. But I think we all need to pay attention to our own health and do what we are most comfortable doing. And also pay attention to our health beyond the coronavirus. We were talking about exercise, and somebody said there were 51 people signed up for a JCC exercise class on Zoom. That's really important because it's so easy to get into I don't know, a mindset of, oh, I'm just at home. I can't go to the gym, so I'm just going to sit here. There's a new phrase, actually, and it's a crazy expression, but it's called the COVID-15. Now I know it's COVID-19, that's the virus, and the 19 comes from, because it was discovered in 2019. So it's called COVID-19. The COVID-15 is this idea of, we talk about when kids go to college in their first year and they come back with a freshman 15, gaining weight. That's one of the concerns right now with COVID. In fact, one of my friends on Facebook said, let's make a pact with each other that when this is all over, we're going to say to each other, wow, you look like you lost weight. So anyway, so we have to be aware and really maintain our health. And besides exercise, it's things like mindfulness and breathing. In fact, at the JCC on Monday mornings, I take a 20-minute class at 8:30 a.m. on breathing, and it's great. So those are some of the things that help with balance. Balancing the time that you spend with people and spend time alone. I think we've almost gone, in a way, overboard because we're so aware of being isolated, and we use the term social isolation, self-isolation. I basically call it physical distancing, and we have a lot of social connection. But in that wanting to have all this social connection, that is really great, but we don't want to forget the importance of having some alone time. And there's something called existential aloneness, which is the idea of being able to be by yourself, with yourself, not in a negative way. It's not existential loneliness, but it's aloneness. Being alone and being with your own feelings and being self-reflective and just being comfortable with yourself. So having a balance between being with oneself and then being with people. Because the being with people, I think we're actually mastering that pretty well with the Zoom. Right before our class started today, I just emailed my son in New York and I said, are we having our family Zoom conference tomorrow evening? And what I realized is, wow, I talked to him more than I did before all this started. So that's another thing. And then along with this, just focusing on relationships. Everybody now is in a different situation in our own being in quarantine. There are some people, like I see Esther's face right here. I know Esther is with her family. You have a big family. You have a lot of people in your house. And other people have maybe one partner. Some people, there may be people who are alone by themselves. There may be some people with little kids and they're having to do homeschooling with their kids. So everyone's in a different situation. But cultivating,
Hey,
yeah? Did someone want to say something?
That was me. Whoops.
Okay.
My granddaughter's calling.
Oh, that's so nice. But relationships are developing or cultivating the relationships with the people you're living with now. It's not like you didn't know them before, but it might be a little different when you're there 24 hours a day, and managing those relationships is also related to balance and again, managing time with them and time by yourself. But again, it's very different for people who are by themselves physically versus people with several others in their house. So, and I guess I'd say that, and I just think this is important across the board, is just being able to have a sense of humor. And when I say that, I don't mean to dismiss the seriousness of what's going on, because we're living in critical times. It's a really difficult time, but we've got to be able to have some humor and maintaining a sense of humor. So those are some of the things that I think are important, and I could talk for hours, but I want to now, in my attempt to create balance here, is open it up for questions. And I don't know if the best way, Jerry, if you think, if anyone may have written a question on the chat that I can answer, or we can open it up and unmute people if it doesn't get too much feedback of noise. I don't know, it may be okay.
Well, everybody could unmute yourself to ask a question, yes, or I can unmute you. I just have to find you on the list. And also, let's see what, and you can send chat also, and we can ask a question for you if you'd like. So it's those, I see Liz.
Yeah. Linda just raised her hand.
I'm going to unmute you.
Yeah. You can raise a hand.
Yes, hi, Linda. You can raise a hand as long as we can see you, but I could see you.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. There's a way to raise a hand